Good evening. We'll get this meeting started. Mary, roll call?
Mayor Brunner,
Yes, here.
Vice Mayor Rich,
Here.
Commissioner Clark,
Here.
Commissioner Collins,
Here.
Commissioner McDonald.
Here.
Do we have our pastor here?
Yes, we do.
We do.
We'll have an invocation. Would everyone stand? Thank you, sir.
Pleasure. Our Father, who inhabits heaven and the whole universe, we come before you this evening and we thank you, God, for the opportunity that we have to gather together to conduct the business of this city, the decisions to be made and the directions to be taken. Lord, we thank you that you have promised us wisdom and direction and guidance. And Lord, I would ask that tonight for these that you've placed in positions of authority over us. Your word tells us that we're to pray for those in authority. And Lord, many of us do just that on a regular basis, not just once a month at the beginning of a meeting, but we pray regularly for them, for their health, for their welfare, for their families. Lord, that you would bestow blessings upon them and grant them the wisdom and the direction and the guidance that they need to do the work that you've called them to do in this community. We look to them, Lord, as they lead us. I thank you, God, tonight for this city, and I pray this evening, not just for this meeting, but I've been reflecting this week or last week and over the weekend about how to pray. And Lord, I want to lift up all who work for the city of Stuart, from the offices here to the men on the streets, to each one, especially the police officers, the first responders, Lord, the fire department, everyone, God, who puts their life on the line, who serve us and serve you by serving us. And so, God, I thank you for the privilege that I have tonight to stand here and pray and believe that you hear, and that not only do you hear, you answer prayer. And I give you praise for it. I pray in the name of Jesus, and we just give you all the thanks and the honor in his name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, sir. Now we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I have any comments from any of our commissioners?
Is that it on the agenda?
Oh, thank you.
Commissioner McDonald?
Yeah, so anyway, welcome everybody. Went up to Tallahassee last week, and now say this about Tallahassee compared to last year versus this year. There was definitely a different mood. I would say it was more moderated, and I didn't feel that we were getting as run over as we had. Did find out there are a few things out there that are of interesting for some legislation, and I've been speaking with Mr. Mortel about those. One of them, a couple of them actually involve our utilities. There's one bill, House Bill 665, is regarding service charges that we charge. The fees that we charge our non-residents that use our utilities. For us, it's probably not that big of a deal, but there are municipalities that it is a big deal. Oh, and that's if you're a city utility user and you don't live in the municipal boundaries of the city, you pay a different rate for our utilities. And it's a pretty common practice. I think we have a couple areas that are not in the city that they pay about a 10% surcharge. We also, there's a bill, one that I think we should keep an eye on, is reclaimed water and nutrient load regarding our reclaimed water system. So they're looking at regulating how much nutrients are in the water being discharged from our reclaimed water being used for irrigation, because there are nutrients in there. So that's just something we may need to be looking at, and how, depending on what those nutrient loads are, if we need to figure out how to reduce those nutrient loads in our irrigation quality water. There was also some discussions regarding septic to sewer conversions, and maybe requiring inspections every 3 to 5 years for homeowners that have septic systems. And at that 3 to 5 year period, depending on the condition of the septic system, requiring them to hook up to sewer if available, or doing an upgrade to their septic system. So I'm not sure where that bill's gonna go, if that's gonna go anywhere, but there was some discussion about that. There's also a bill, we have it on agenda number 5, and I'll go into that more, about some clawing back some of the preemptions in Senate Bill 102. I think that I had good discussions with our members of the House and Senate, Senator Harrell and Representative Snyder, regarding our appropriations request. So we'll see. I think it will depend on how the revenue comes in, the revenue forecast. But if the state has a good, strong revenue forecast, I think that we're likely to get an appropriation. If it's not as good, who knows? So, but like I said, I did feel better about Tallahassee this year than I did last year, as far as them working with us. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. It's very important. Commissioner Rich, did you have a comment?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I also went to Tallahassee, and I agree the mood was completely different last year. Our governor everybody assumed he was going to be president, and that created a unique atmosphere. I went up as a representative from the Treasure Coast Region, Florida League of Cities, and I sit on the Utilities and Natural Resources Committee, which is very sensible since water is so important to us in Stuart. Our primary focus is trying to update the stormwater regulation bill. It needs to be ratified. The current rules governing stormwater regulation are 20 years old, and most of the data is also very, very old. And it's just not working. As you are all aware, about every week now we'll hear about some remarkable precipitation event, 20 inches in 12 hours. And I can tell you who's paying attention to those is the insurance industry, who uses the latest data and the updated modeling. And so we feel it's important that the industry view us as doing the best job we can to protect all of our resources. And so I was confident, and it's I have some degree of confidence that this can take place. The other thing is, a goal of Tallahassee has been to reduce the power of municipalities. They want to have make all the decisions up in Tallahassee. And there's explicit ways they can do that with rules, but there's another way they can do that is by defunding us. And they want to put 3 amendments on the ballot, which would allow you to vote to decrease your taxes, which is very appealing, obviously. But one is they want to increase the millage rates, or add another $25,000 of exemption to home values. Just to give you an idea, in the city of Stuart, 64% of the real property parcels pay $100 or less a year. So 2/3 of the real property in the city of Stuart pays $100 or less a year. So we're opposed to that. And the other one is, I'm just going to mention 2. The other one is they want to restrict us from charging for your business license renewal, which is a very modest fee. But it actually represents considerable revenue for the city of Stuart. And the other thing it does, it allows us to make sure that on an annual basis, those businesses are in compliance, that they're operating, that they're adhering to the code requirements, and so on, functions in very many effective ways. And we are also obviously opposed to that. So stay tuned. How much time left?
End of March,
End of March.
or end of February. End of February, I'm sorry.
It's a very busy session, and hopefully we can provide updates. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you both commissioners for going to Tallahassee. It's important for all of our constituents to come back and tell us what's going on. Commissioner?
Yes. Good evening. In the words of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, be a nuisance when it counts. Do your part to inform and stimulate the public to join your action. Be depressed, discouraged, and disappointed at failure and the disheartening effects of ignorance, greed, corruption, and bad politics, but never give up. History does not remember those who, given the opportunity to be leaders and reformers, followed the path of least resistance. History does remember those who fought for what was good, went against the grain, no matter how they were characterized at the time. People like Maggie Hirschala, who overcame the seduction of going along to get along. She didn't care about what developers thought about her or what their apologists wrote either. At the time, she was disparaged by many, but ask almost any resident today and they'll tell you they sure wish Maggie was back. Maggie was special because her identity was not defined by her seat or title. She defined her seat and used it to serve all of us, not herself. We live where we do because of that kind of leadership, and that is the kind of leaders we should want to be. Because, contrary to how important we may feel at cocktail parties, our positions do not matter, except that we should be judged more harshly if we held them and did not do as much good as we could with the time we had. As the scripture says, to whom much is given, much will be required. It is not too late to serve residents. Redemption is the best part of any story. If you will represent residents and their interests at these meetings, if you will speak their words from this dais, they will embrace you. Not with forced smiles and handshakes for properly towing the line, but with endless thank yous, big hugs, and the kind of satisfaction you will only find by doing the right thing, especially when it's hard. So tonight, to all the residents, after last meeting, I want to say, please never give up. And thank you for showing up and speaking up.
Commissioner Clark? Can you hear me?
Thank you. Madam Mayor, I want to pull item number 4 to just have the, either the city manager or the city attorney just provide us with that distinction of exactly what stage of the process we are,
Okay.
as stated in that proposed resolution, just for the public, because it's on the consent calendar, so
Okay,
I just wanted to pull it for that. Then the other thing is that I wanted to thank the city council for their continued participation in the annual MLK events, that the events went well, and I wanted to thank the city for participating, both in their support, in financing, organization, in helping and participating on that day, and I just want to thank you for that. We have HB 102 and 328 in a way on the agenda for item number 5. And I know that I've received letters after we've had the last meeting and voted on the project on Colorado. People have been asking about, you know, what is going on downtown? What do we need to do? Are we going headlong into something? Are we just going crazy? And people maybe have forgotten or maybe don't understand what is in our comprehensive plan or what's in our downtown plan, what's in our historic area plan, and our traffic mobility plan in the downtown area. So we just had a community redevelopment board meeting right before this meeting, and I'd asked if there's somehow that we could do some kind of a open house or workshop or something. I don't think we're due for any comprehensive plan update, but I didn't talk to our city attorney, but I talked to our planning director and asked about these House Bill, the Live Local Act, and how they're being incorporated into our comprehensive plan. And I was told that they're not actually incorporated. We're following them from the state statutes perspective. But even so, these bills probably haven't even gone into Chapter 163 and other things. So I think and even to just highlight, and I think we'll be able to do a little bit tonight because there's a short item on here, just to apprise us of what's happening with 328. But I think people probably need to let her get back to their roots, I guess, get to understand, and I know that we announce these meetings, and we do have workshops, and we do have meetings where people can come out and learn what's going on in the CRA area. They can learn what the codes are, learn what's happening with parking. But I don't know, Madam Mayor, I was just asking if there's a way for city manager to either work with staff to try to see if we can get the word out as much as possible, or if we need to do a workshop. And then I want to find out if the attorney, if any other cities or communities or anybody else has done anything with these House bills that we're working to comply with, if they've actually been incorporated in anybody's comprehensive plan or into that Chapter 163. And I know that I had an answer from our planning director, but I just wanted to bring it up on the dais so that we are all kind of like on the same page.
And Commissioner Clark, I can tell you that what's known as Senate Bill 102 from last year was actually codified as Florida Statute 166.04151, and therefore it has been incorporated into the state statutes. It's my understanding that the amended 328 actually has language in it that specifically says the approved projects under Senate Bill 102 that would be in violation of our comp plan will be allowed to remain after the 30 years that they're entitled to be there. So the big issue from last year was what happens at the end of 30 years, because they had to collect the affordable housing rent for 30 years, but nobody said what happened in year 31. And the intention is that they will be considered non-conforming uses, and they will not be in compliance with the comp plan because they're not in compliance with the comp plan now.
All right, I just wanted to bring that up in the public so we're all aware of some of the nuances that we have to deal with.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have any comments from our manager?
I had a couple of comments. First, it's my understanding that the police department hosted a statewide taekwondo meeting on Saturday. and
Jiu-jitsu.
or-
You would never call it
Well, I
jiu-jitsu
was told
taekwondo.
taekwondo.
You're
so
looking
maybe it
for
was
a beating.
jiu-jitsu. I could read it from my phone. I
looking
didn't know
for a
if
fight.
Joe actually participated in it. But it was an honor because participants came from all over the state, and I think it was all day Saturday. Was it Sunday as well? Okay. In addition to that, our finance department has again received the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award, and I know that they received it last year and the year before as well, and I've asked the finance director to come to our February meeting, the first meeting in February, where we have presentations, and I'm going to have him do a presentation of our online budget and how the transparency of it and how you could ask questions and click around and see what's there and be able to access the information and look at it and show you guys and anybody else that wants to come. But that will come to follow next meeting. That's all I've got.
Thanks, Mike.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Um,
Pull in item number 4,
Yeah,
sir.
pulling item number 4. I'm
Thank you,
sorry.
sir.
Not 5, just 4, okay.
Well, 5 would already be,
Is a discussion item.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it is, all right. We gotta approve it.
Comments?
Oh, yeah, do we have any comments from the public?
We got to have the vote.
Oh, sorry, on the agenda.
Excuse me, Mary, would you do a roll call?
Sure. Mayor Brunner,
Yes.
Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
yes.
Vice Mayor Rich? Yes. Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
All right. Commissioner Clark, you pulled 4.
No, it's comments from the public, no.
Oh, do we have any comments from the public now? We have one. Karen?
Are you calling
Ms.
for public
Rudge.
comment?
Yes, but this is for just public comment, not for any of the,
Yeah, I'd like to do public comment.
yes, sir. Ms. Rudge, could you come forward, please? And just,
this veteran go, though.
No, you go ahead. Come on. I know you're better than me. You go first.
thank you, Ms. Rudge.
Yes, Karen Hall, Yost Rudge, 1701 Southwest Palm City Road. So grateful to be an American, so grateful to be able to speak and address my grievances to my government. The last meeting we had, and our mayor was going to call in the law on one of the commissioners. This is how far we have fallen. All right, this commission sued us in 2014. They raised their own salaries in 2017. A couple of them, I guess we have to, as a whole, but we're talking about McDonald and Clark, set up so that the decisions could be made for the overdevelopment. We talk about
We'd ask that you
affordable
not
housing.
specifically degrade anybody
we-
personally.
Take
Ms.
that
Rudge,
time off mine.
he's
We talk
correct.
about affordable, please don't interrupt me,
He's
Mayor.
correct.
No, this is what you did to Commissioner Collins. You don't,
Continue, Ms. Rudge.
thank you. I am asking you not to threaten a fellow commissioner with a police action. What is wrong with this? This is wrong, okay? So I'm not calling anybody names. I am saying, if we want to clap, we clap, okay? If we want to, there's no civility when you're going to call the law on a fellow commissioner. And thank you for our city of Stuart, our law enforcement, and Martin County. But you know what? This has gone too far. This is not how we treat one another. And also, now we got 2 people that ignore me, and so I'm just going to give this to you, Mayor, because there's a pending case you can see on here. It was filed 1/18 in the federal court. You guys have a case. You're letting Mike be the attorney, which is unbelievable. And now we have Mr. Baggett ignoring me. So now I got to do a request for admissions. And all we had to do was just answer the email, okay? So I don't know what's going on, but I know that things are going up. Anything but affordable housing is going up. Thank you.
Mr. Ernst?
Greetings, small town Stuart.
Pick that mic up a little bit. There you go.
Small town Stuart commissioners. I wasn't here at the previous hearing when you heard the Creekside Hotel. I was out of town, or I would have been here. And I sent you an email. You probably never saw it or looked at it. And I want to thank you, Christopher, for bringing up 2 wonderful people that I knew personally. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, outstanding woman, and her organization is still going strong here in Stuart, led by these samples. And poor Maggie Hirshala, she died a broken woman. She didn't need to, but she did. Please vote for small town Stuart. Please vote no on Creekside Hotel. This is the email I sent you. We, your constituents, voters, plead with you to protect our quality of life and our small town Stuart. As you well know, we have pleaded with you before. We sit daily, installed traffic on Canna and US 1. We sit through numerous traffic lights changing, and we still sit there as they go green, red, green, red, green, red. At Canna Monterey, at Canna US 1, at Indian Canna, and most intersections on US 1. These roads are over capacity now. In many of the 4-story tenements you have already approved aren't even occupied yet. including Costco, 400 units, and other tenements that you have approved, and we're in this traffic situation today. Your constituents, voters, are outraged. And I don't know if you people ever go out and talk to your constituents, but I do. I listen to them. I interact with them. They are outraged what's happening to small-town Stuart, and they're outraged that they sit in traffic, stalled traffic, sitting at lights. I asked Commissioner McDonald, I said, come stand with you in that little medium in US 1, and I'm going to sign there. Commissioner McDonald says there's 70% capacity left on Canna, and he can talk to the people sitting there outraged through lights. You must vote no on Creekside Motel. That is not small-town Stuart. And the current deplorable traffic situation that they now are in Kennet Daily. Commissioners, I was so outraged when I saw how you voted. I couldn't believe you voted for a monstrosity in that area with no parking. I'm not going to stay at a hotel where I got to walk to the parking garage, and Kara told you from Fruits and Roots, there's no room there anyway. And I went to Kara today to apologize for the vote you did on her. Because I eat there numerous times a week.
Mr. Ernst, your time's up, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You should be ashamed of yourselves.
Commissioner Clark, you want to talk about the pull, when you pulled item 4?
How about a motion?
We have to approve the consent
A
calendar.
motion for consent agenda, to approve the consent agenda, items 1 through 3.
Thank you. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have a roll call?
Public comment.
Public comment?
Comment. I apologize for my nervousness. Do we have any public comment? I see none.
Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rich?
Yes.
Mayor Brunner?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Collins?
Yes.
Madam Mayor, item number 4 is the authorization to execute the access agreement with Astor Capital for the Old City landfill, resolution number 13-2024. And before I move to ask the commission to approve this resolution, I just wanted the city attorney to read that title in full, and then to give us, either the city attorney or the city manager, to give us a brief history of what's going on with the landfill and the stage that we are with the lessor, or the potential lessor getting this organization to have access to the property.
If you'd be kind enough to read it, I'll answer.
Thank you, Mike.
Resolution number 13-2024, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, authorizing the city to execute the Brownfields Site Access Agreement with Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
So, in response to Commissioner Clark's request, historically, what happened with the landfill is that it was originally operated as a landfill here locally, and ultimately was stopped being used. The city has continued to use it for storage of tree and other debris before it gets taken to the Okeechobee landfill. But several years ago, the city was approached by an entity out of Miami interested in participating in a brownfield cleanup of the landfill and purchasing it from the city in order to restore the property. They were granted a 270-day due diligence period during which they could do their testing and to determine whether or not it was feasible for their intended end use. I think we extended that by 90 days, and then roughly a year later, when the time was up, they had to either make a substantial deposit on the property to secure moving forward or notify us of termination, and they elected to not make the deposit. Immediately following that, probably within 3 weeks, we received an unsolicited letter from the Ashley Capital entity asking if we would be interested into entering into discussion to sell the landfill to them at fair market value after they've done an evaluation to determine if it was feasible for a brownfield evaluation. I brought it before the commission, and the commission voted and passed a resolution authorizing Ashley Capital to exercise a due diligence and do specific testing out on the site, which includes more than just Phase 1 and Phase 2 borings. During the course of that, they've reached out to me and said that they've qualified for a grant with the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council and have entered into a relationship with them to do the full evaluation of the site. Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council asked the city to authorize them to go on the site on behalf of Ashley Capital, and I reviewed the resolution with the city attorney, and it was determined that we essentially authorized Ashley Capital to go, and Ashley Capital could have authorized Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council as their agent, but because Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council is a state agency, it has a policy that it won't take third-party authorizations, and they needed us to sign the document which authorizes them to go onto the property on behalf of Ashley Capital to participate in the evaluation of the brownfield determination to determine what would be necessary with the Department of the Florida DEP in order to restore the property to a no further action status to allow for essentially light industrial use on the site. The agenda item before the commission tonight is authorizing the mayor to execute that access agreement so that they can go out on the site. There is no contract entered for the sale of the property at any given price. Ashley Capital wanted to first do the evaluation, do the due diligence, and report back to the commission as to what it found, and then negotiate with the commission on what would be a fair and market price for the purchase after that. So by voting tonight, all you're voting for is that one of the consultants is allowed to go on the property. It's my position that the resolution authorized Ashley Capital and their agents and consultants to participate anyway, so it's a formality.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mortel.
And we're not hiring Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council by signing it. We're not in privity. We don't have anything to do with it.
Thank you.
Move for approval?
Does anybody else have any other comment on it? I'll just move for approval of
Second.
Okay. 13/2024.
Do we have any public comment on 4? We don't. Roll call?
Mayor Brunner,
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rich,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Clark.
Yes.
We have commission action number 5, supporting Senate Bill 328 relating to affordable housing and the Live Local Act.
Madam Mayor? May I, I'm the one who asked to put this on the agenda. I was up in Tallahassee, and there was a briefing on legislation that was coming through, and this bill was brought up. And what it does is there's a few clawbacks to the preemption, including some height issues involving limiting the height to a quarter mile from an existing building, maximum 135% of the adjacent building's heights, some things that I think that we all would appreciate. But when I asked staff to take a look and review this bill so we knew what was in it, this is when I decided to bring it forward. Exempt areas that are airport impact is defined in Section 333.03 of Florida statute from requirements of Senate Bill 102. This applies to all developments within 10,000 feet of an existing airport runway. That is the vast majority of Stuart south of the bridge. So this would effectively, this bill passes, it will effectively take everything south of the bridge from our review, staff's review, out of Senate Bill 102. And I'd love to hear staff's response to that, but
So- And just briefly, I took a map and took the ends of the runways and did a 10,000 feet, and it goes to the north, almost directly across the river, all the way. So everything from where we're standing right now, east to the end of Stuart would be not covered, and then to the west, the only thing that literally isn't within 10,000 feet is like the Fraser, or the park at the end of Flagler Park right here at the end, and Sunset Bay Marina. Everything else is within the 10,000 feet, all the way down, including Willoughby Country Club, which is not in the city, but everything leading up to Willoughby, and then the US 1 corridor, all the way south to the very end of Stuart, with the exception of maybe the last 30 feet of what's known as the Gay Timon property, or the
yes.
SPS Hardware's old site on the south end of town. And then as it relates to like the area of the city, like all of East Ocean Boulevard, it includes all of Sewell's Point, and it would go all the way down to Manatee Pocket almost. So with the exception of just those properties on the north side of the Roosevelt Bridge, everything else in the city of Stuart is essentially removed from the requirements of Senate Bill 102 if this Senate Bill 328 passes. And that's lines 499 to 508 of the bill.
Thank you.
Mayor? Which also includes what's in the master plan, not even what exists, correct? When I looked at it, it was airport in the master plan, not even, Lee, do you remember looking at that?
There were other, yeah, let me pull that up.
It's just an interesting point, you know, cat and mouse, maybe the county needs to include some future airports in their master plan.
Martin County does have a master plan for an
Yes.
airport, so.
Yes. But I don't know if you really want to dig it up.
He's got it right
I mean,
there.
I have it. I
Go
can-
for it, yes.
All right. Well, I guess it's saying that sections dealing with the county and the city do not apply in any of the following. It's basically Senate Bill 102. It's, as Mr. Mortel said it earlier, is codified in the Florida statutes 166.04151, subsection 7. I'm sure we'll all remember that. But the first says that the clawback is what, or the exception is a proposed development within 10,000 feet of the nearest point of any existing airport runway or planned airport runway identified in the local government's airport master plan.
Right.
And I believe there's 3 runways at the Martin County Airport, so when you take the 10,000 feet radius, you can do it from 3 different points, so it kind of even covers more of Stuart. And so that's what you were referencing. So, and that's part of this new Senate Bill 328. So it'll,
In thinking about this was my only caution. Obviously, this would be amazing for the city if they voted for this, right? This would really protect us, not so much the county, but for us, this would be a huge blessing. But I think of Pasco County, who is currently suing over SB 102, and I just wonder that what the upside would be here. I'm sure Toby and Gail all appreciate us being in support of what they're doing, but my assumption would be they're going to vote how they're going to vote. But if we do, as a board, officially through resolution, effectively support SB 102, and by supporting this amendment to it, could we be hamstringing ourselves from a future commission, you know, suing over this kind of an issue like Pasco is? That would be my only thought. Everything else is amazing here, but just critically looking at it was my only concern.
I don't think it keeps us from suing ever over a Florida statute. I don't know if we have standing to sue, but.
Does it look bad, though, if we supported it and then we're suing?
I don't know if that's a legal opinion or
Well, yeah,
I mean,
it's more of a policy
Right.
opinion. Do you think it
Okay.
looks bad, or do you think it looks good? You could look at the language of the resolution, and if you wanted to add clarifying language to the resolution to The reason whereas clauses are in resolutions are to provide the legislative history and intent. So if you added a whereas clause and said whereas, because at line 499 to line 508, it exempts 96% of the city of Stuart from the thing, or because the airport language is in there, the city of Stuart is supporting this,
I
then
like that.
in the
That's-
future,
that's
anything
more
that comes
accurate.
up, it
I
would be
think that
clear.
That makes sense.
And I think it's, I do think that, again, there was a different attitude and mode in Tallahassee this year.
happy to
and-
hear it. That's
And I do think that I think that maybe they got enough pushback where
Yeah.
I did hear I did hear them seem like they were listening to us more this year. And I think that it's important to be positive about when they do listen to us.
Fair point.
So maybe if we could add the language that references those 3 or 4 lines. And,
Thank you.
okay, so if you're good with that, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution with those changes.
Any other comments from the commissioners?
No, we're not really getting any more affordable housing anyway, but it's called the Affordable Housing Act.
Before that, Mayor, before,
I was just gonna say, this was the best-looking Venn diagram I ever saw when Mike Martell showed me. I mean, last year, this bill created dread in all Florida municipalities. And this very practical exemption they had to come up with so that airplanes weren't flying into buildings, just lets the city off scot-free, and it's terrific. In fact, last year, Mr. Martell, was it after this law passed, didn't we have a property owner, he said he was going to not go with the approval he had and actually was looking at maxing out his development based on 102, so, and I know it, in other counties and cities around the state, this has been happening, so we've been very, very lucky, and thank you to the legislature for coming to their senses.
Thank you.
We need the city attorney to read the title before it's voted on.
Yes.
yeah, Madam Mayor, I never had the chance to do that. So, resolution number 12-2024, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, supporting Senate Bill 328 relating to affordable housing and improving upon the Live Local Act, previously adopted during the 2023 Florida legislative session, providing for an effective date and for other purposes.
Thank you.
Did someone make a motion, Madam Mayor?
I made a motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and I do have a public comment. I do have public yes. Ms. Cartwright, would you come forward and please speak? Number 5. Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for the clarification and explanation of what the resolution could or could not cover, but I have some concerns about your resolution as a whole. I don't agree with Senate Bill 102, and not many did or do. It's intentionally vague and doesn't truly address affordable housing like it says it does or that it should. So you have a resolution that you say will exempt the city from a majority of the Senate bill, but does it? What if the Senate doesn't pass the bill? What are the caveats? And from what I understand, a developer can still appeal to Tallahassee and override what you're declaring because we, as a city, do not include things like our own clawback measures. So will we start including them as part of our approvals or even as a part of this resolution? And I understand what you're trying to do, but what you're proposing doesn't fix the Senate bill, and it certainly doesn't fix affordability in the city. For context for those who are not aware, from the City of Stuart's own Housing Authority waiting list, in April of 2023, there were 1,340 applicants, with 1 person moving out and 1 person moving in. In July, 1,526 applicants, 1 out, 1 in. September, 1,648 applicants, 0 out, 0 in. November, 1,733 applicants, with 1 move out and 1 move in. And granted, this is truly subsidized housing, but it shows that there is a need in our community, and then there's the people who don't even qualify for assistance, because even if they did, it wouldn't matter because there's absolutely nothing available. Even before Senate Bill 102, you were approving affordable or attainable housing, and a developer simply had to say that they were going to make it available. And when they did that, you approved maximum densities more often than not based on that promise and premise. A developer did not and does not have to submit any reports. There's no accountability to the city. There's no city staff who checks on it. And so what ends up happening is we have maximum densities, and the developer just has to say that nobody applied or qualified, And therefore, those units are back on the market at market rate, and that's assuming that someone from the city even asked them. As with the city approvals, there's no state accountability. There's nobody at the state monitoring what's being built under the guise of affordable housing. And there's still nobody at the city or county level who will be tracking anything that gets approved using this Senate bill as rationale for building. If you're going to use this opportunity to say you are taking a stand to protect home rule, it would be nice if you pursued something truly meaningful with the same gusto to truly have a positive impact. I encourage you to look at what Jacksonville's doing with Corner Lot. It's a great example as to how to accomplish a reasonable, feasible, and successful public-private partnership. So while I appreciate what this resolution is trying to accomplish, it may be a step in the right direction. It's not enough for your constituents. Thank you.
Okay, can we have a roll call?
Vice Mayor Rich,
Yes.
Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins, Commissioner McDonald,
Yes.
Mayor Brunner.
Yes. All right, we will move on to 6, HCA freestanding. This is our ordinance second reading. HCA freestanding emergency room, major amendment to the plan unit development and site plan. It's a quasi-judicial. Lee?
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance number 2526-2024, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, granting a third major amendment to ordinance number 2297-2014, also known as the 7.24 acre, 4-lot Wawa gas station and convenience store master commercial planned unit development, CPUD, thereby approving a master development plan for Lot 3 consisting of an 11,570 square foot freestanding emergency room and providing for new, restated, and amended development conditions, including a timetable for development, said property being generally located at the southeast corner of State Road 76 and Southeast Monterey Road, being more fully described by Exhibit A attached, declaring the proposed development to be consistent with the city's comprehensive plan, repealing ordinances in conflict, providing for a severability clause acceptable by the applicant, and an effective date and for other purposes.
Thank you. Again, this is a second reading, but do my commissioners have any ex parte communication to disclose?
I have met with the staff and with the developer previously, but since the last meeting, I have not talked to them. I'm here with an open mind.
I have none.
Yes, I met with the applicant prior to the last meeting, but no additional contact since then.
Thank you. I have none either.
No, nothing since the last, what was disclosed at the last meeting. I'm here with an open mind.
Okay. And our attorney needs to place any potential witnesses under oath. Rise, I mean.
Do you swear or affirm the evidence that you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Do we not say "so help me God" at the end of our oaths?
So help me God.
Thank you.
Okay, here we go. All right, will the Development Department please provide a brief summary of the agenda, including the items? Thank you,
Yes.
Jody.
Let me, would you like me to do a full presentation?
Maybe we don't.
It's,
What are the commissioners? Go ahead and give a,
Have there been
Give a
any
little
changes since last meeting?
there's been no changes. We just have to go over just a few quick changes in the ordinance, just some typo errors that the applicant would just like to address.
okay, let's do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners, Vice Mayor, Mayor. I appreciate your time tonight. I realize you've got a busy schedule. Just really quick. So, of course, my name is Audra Creech. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. I am also an attorney from Gunster. The applicant is HCA Florida St. Lucie Hospital, and as you stated, we propose a freestanding emergency room on Lot 3 of the CPUD. So we're here for a major amendment to the CPUD. Now, the City of Stuart Director of Development, Mrs. Jody Netwood Kugler, was correct. There are some changes to the ordinance since the ordinance had to be submitted prior to this meeting. Most of the changes are typographical in nature to fix some grammatical issues, some clerical issues. However, there are two substantive changes that I want to make you all aware of. So the first substantive change is the change in the development timetable. The original development timetable that was provided by the city had June 30th, 2024, which is 6 months or so from now, and June 30th, 2025, to complete everything that needed to happen after this approval to get the FSCR built. The applicant feels that that is a little tight, especially since the June 30th, 2024 date is only 6 months away. So we suggested to Ms. Jody Netwick-Kugler that we would like to extend those two dates, the first one to June 30th, 2025, so 1 year, and then the second date to June 30th, 2026. So once again, just a year on the original proposed date. So that's one item. The other item is that, unfortunately, for whatever reason, the ordinance you have in your agenda packet at this time refers to an Exhibit B, but it does not actually include Exhibit B. So I would suggest that that be something that be changed as to the final ordinance. So at this time, if we are prepared to give a presentation, but we figured you all had seen it before and it hasn't changed, so you may not want to see it. But that is completely up to your discretion. At this time, if you do not choose to have the presentation again, I will ask on behalf of the applicant that you approve this particular application for major amendment to the CPUD to develop Lot 3 into an FSER, a freestanding emergency room, and that you approve it with the understanding that Mrs. Netwick-Kugler will be making the typographical changes that we provided to her, as well as the changes to the development timetable that I discussed and the addition of Exhibit B. Other than that, if you all have no questions, that's the end of my presentation, assuming you don't want me to do a presentation. But if you have questions, we are perfectly able to answer them, completely up to you.
Thank you. Do the commissioners have any
Yeah,
questions?
what's the rationale for adding a year onto that timetable again?
Just simply that the client felt 6 months was a little tight because we get the approval from you. We have to get building permits, which can take some time. And additionally, we then have to actually build the property, build the actual structure. So 6 months is a little tight for that. We would prefer that we get the dates that we're comfortable with in the first ordinance and not have to come back to you for any kind of extensions. That's what we would prefer. We can, in theory, come back to you for extensions, but we would prefer just to have the right dates the first time. That way, we don't have to, and we can build and develop and make it happen.
Mike, or Lee, is there any reason why that would be a liability for us?
Reality of it is, the timetables based upon emergencies in Florida are actually, very few end up even having to follow their guidelines or deadlines anyway, because anytime an emergency is entered by the governor, there's an automatic extension, and there's emergencies entered all the time for random reasons. So, really, no.
Okay.
Second.
Any other comment?
Madam Mayor, is there a representative of HCA here?
Yes. Michael Barbera, Head of Operations.
Welcome, Mr. Barbera.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Michael Barbera. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of HCA Florida St. Lucie Hospital.
So, Mr. Barbera, I had a very interesting call and lengthy discussion with a representative of the Cleveland Clinic here. And the assertion was made that the presence of this freestanding emergency room threatens the viability of their model in the county. Would you like to comment on that? Because
Well, seeing that I'm with HCA, I do not know their model for that piece. We're here for the community. We're here to open up another access point for emergency care that as you guys continue to grow and as you continue to need the services, we're here to provide it and provide it in a fast, timely manner.
does Cleveland Clinic have facilities up in St. Lucie County where you compete?
I do not think so.
No, they It's an interesting, so the most common complaint I receive from people is about the quality of medical care currently in the county. There's very little we have to do with that. But you know, it raises two interesting points. One deals with both this issue, and the next one is, should the city be able to choose what type of businesses we allow in, you know, in certain areas on certain piece of property? And luckily, we're not able to do that, as long as they conform to the general uses that is in the code and the land development code. We have to permit it. But I'm wondering if maybe, and we have a joint meeting coming up with the county in a few weeks, and if we need to address, and this is a very difficult issue, not just in Martin County, not just in the city of Stuart, but you know, the quality of care, and does the presence of, I mean, what responsibility do we have to ensure the viability of the medical system we rely on? This is more of a question, this is more of a comment than a question. I'm sorry to spring that on you, but I was struck by the concerns that were shared with me, and I think we need to address these issues at some point. I think this is a good step, and I look forward to you being there. So,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I would just say I hope you make the marketplace very competitive so that the level of care goes up for everybody around. So,
We are here to care for the community, sir.
yep.
Madam Mayor, I was going to respond to Commissioner
Yes, go ahead.
Campbell, Rich. I didn't want to sound too cliche, that's why I didn't want to jump up and respond right away. But, you know, when we do these things and we talk about businesses, especially when it comes to housing, whether it's the price of the housing or whether it's high or low, we tend to say the market dictates. And I hear Commissioner Collins and Commissioner Campbell is kind of saying that. So I just hope that whatever, if this is approved, that we'll get good service and that we'll continue to have a robust healthcare market in this area.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Mayor, can I make a motion before the public gets a chance to comment?
Yes.
Unless somebody else has it. Regarding ordinance number 2526, 2024, that this commission approves this proposal on the second reading of this HCA freestanding emergency room on Kenner Highway.
Second.
Second, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any comments from the public? No, we don't. This one's on 7. Okay.
I'm sorry, the applicant asked for approval of the revised
With the
dates.
conditions that you suggested.
Okay, perfect, just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Incorporated, and my second incorporates them also.
Yeah, my
And I hope that this clerk and the development director has those.
We do.
Thank you. All right, Mary, she's got it. Roll call?
Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rich?
Yes?
Mayor Brunner?
Yes.
Commissioner Collins?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
You're welcome.
These are going to be item 7.
Good things.
This is ordinance, the first reading, 101 South Colorado Restaurant, rezoned to urban plan unit development and site plan approval. This is quasi judicials also. Lee.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance number 2524-2023, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Stuart, Florida, approving a rezoning from urban waterfront to urban plan unit development for a 0.234 acre property located at 101 South Colorado Avenue, said land being more fully described in Exhibit A attached, establishing the Colorado Waterfront Restaurant, UPUD, to repurpose the existing office building for a 150-seat restaurant and provide relief from various parking requirements, approving a final site plan, providing for development conditions, including a timetable for development, declaring the plan with the city's comprehensive plan, providing directions to the city clerk, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, providing for an effective date, and for other purposes.
Thank you. Do the commissioners have any ex parte communication they'd like to disclose?
Madam Mayor, I spoke with the applicant, and I've also spoke with residents, and I'm here with an open mind.
I too have spoken with the planner, the owner, and most of the residences, and letters and emails and talking on the phone. I'm here with an open mind.
I've spoken with the applicant and numerous residents, and am here with an open mind.
I've spoken with residents and the applicant.
I've met with the applicant, Mr. Schambach, and his representative, and I've talked to staff, and I've seen communication from residents. I'm here with an open mind.
We have to get the, all the, the planners,
Swear in.
all the witnesses, we need to swear you in. We have,
Everybody raise your right hand, too. Do you swear or affirm the evidence that you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
okay, thank you.
You may be seated.
Okay. All right, will the Development Department please provide a brief summary? Okay. Whatever your presentation on the agenda. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Brunner and Commissioners. For the record, my name is Jody Kugler, Director of Development. Tonight, I'll be presenting agenda item number 7 for an urban plan unit development rezone petition and a final site plan for 101 South Colorado Avenue Restaurant. The applicant is 101 Colorado LLC. The applicant is requesting 4 waivers as part of this petition: a parking exemption on site, a off-site valet parking with a distance requirement, an additional curb cut, and to removal of 1 city-owned on-street parking space. This item is quasi-judicial. In accordance with the public notice requirements outlined in Section 11.02.05 of the Land Development Code, the applicant mailed 33 letters to adjacent owners located within 300 feet of the subject parcel. It provided the details of the development and date and times of tonight's meeting. Additionally, a sign was posted on the property along South Colorado Avenue with this same information. The .23 acre developed property is situated on the east side of South Colorado Avenue. North is Southeast Seminole Street, and directly north is the St. Lucie River. This property is also situated in the city's community redevelopment area in the urban district. The subject parcel is also surrounded by properties designated by the Downtown Redevelopment Future Land Use. The parcel and the properties to the north and south are designated as the Urban Waterfront Zoning District, and the property to west is designated as Urban Center. Again, the applicant is requesting for a planned development, and this is a departure from the strict application of use, setback, parking requirements, and other requirements of standard zoning districts. A primary purpose to provide a set zoning requirements as a starting point in which flexibility may be accomplished while maintaining and protecting the public health, safety, and welfare of the citizens. The first request from the petitioner is they are requesting relief from the Land Development Code 6.01.09E, which is the Stuart Parking Code. They are requesting to have the entire site to be parking exempt within the urban center and urban code and in the East Stuart district. This property, if had to be parked, would require 38 parking spaces on site based on the 150 seats being proposed. In return, the city would obtain the riparian rights for the boardwalk along the north side of the property. This is the proposed development. As you can see in pink, that is the original building that they're looking to repurpose. The property that's in the light blue, the dark blue, and orange are the addition to the site. The original building was 1,183 square feet, and it was used as an office building, and the proposed restaurant will be 3,112 square feet. with 150 seats. The area is in close proximity of the Old Downtown District. The Old Town District is in a parking exemption area that applies to the floor spaces that exist as of January 1st, 2004. As you can see, the map does identify the locations of where those properties are exempt currently today. The property outlined in red is the property that is at tonight's discussion. It is outside of the boundary. If this property was considered part of the boundary or the lines were extended into the parking exemption area, the applicant would only be grandfathered in for the original 1,183 square feet. Additionally, there is an area called the Downtown Saturation District. It's essentially the same as the exemption area, except for the properties along the north side that's circled in red. In 2012, these properties to the north were added to the parking exemption as part of the negotiation to extend the boardwalk behind these properties to Colorado Avenue. However, these parcels are not included in the saturation area. The saturation area was created to limit the number of licenses issued for restaurants, nightclubs, and other alcoholic beverage license establishments within the downtown area. The old downtown district was established as the saturation area. Again, the saturation area regulates hours of operation, distance requirements, and certain types of establishments. Properties located within the saturation area are subject to zoning approval. The saturation level means an establishment floor area of not more than 30% and cannot go over the 30% threshold. Currently in 2020, we are over the 30%, so we can no longer issue any more liquor license within the saturation area in the downtown district. For the purpose, this is the requirements that the applicant will have to follow with the state to obtain a special liquor license. It's called the 4COP SRS. And to obtain that, they must have 2,000 square foot of service area, and they must serve 120 patrons. The petitioner's request number 2 is the location of required parking spaces. Again, this was requested since the property is requesting to be parking exemption, they will have to locate the parking somewhere else. They are looking to move the parking to a different location down Seminole Street. It's approximately 675 feet. The code requires that they must be a maximum of 500 feet. So they are asking to be waived from that requirement. The parking is located at 111 Southeast Osceola Street. As you can see, the red diagram is the foot traffic that they would be going back and forth to take the cars from 101 South Colorado to 111 Southeast Osceola Street. That property is currently right now a medical building and is pretty much closed at night, so they would utilize the valet parking at night. Again, this is the layout of the off-site parking space. You can see they're entering onto Denver, and they'll circle back around and go around the block back to 101 South Colorado when picking up or delivering cars to the site. This is the traffic generation. Typically, in this area, they are exempt from traffic. However, when an applicant applies for a conditional use or a planned development, they are required to submit a traffic statement. In this case, the traffic trips are 390 daily trips increased. Our traffic consultant, Kimberly Horn, had reviewed the traffic analysis prepared by Susan O'Rourke and for accuracy. The petition is requesting number 3 is to add an additional curb cut. Currently, they have a curb cut located on South Colorado Avenue. As you can see in the rendering, it's pointed in the red arrow. That is the current existing location. And they are requesting an additional location on Seminole Street for ingress. The location of those 2 parking curb cuts are located on South Colorado, and the egress will be from Seminole Street.
Is that those 2 blue things there?
Yes, ma'am. Those are the 2 blue arrows showing the actually locations of potentially where those curb cuts will be. And that's to help the circulation. You'll see in the next slide, it'll show the circulation of the valet when you're entering off of South Colorado and then circling out the egress onto Seminole Street. The request number 4 is the removal of the city-owned on-street parking space to allow access to the site along South Colorado Avenue and for fire truck access. This is currently how the site plan is situated. As you can see, Colorado's down there. Where you see our fire truck, that's where they're proposed to park. They need that for access. There is no other location to be able to maneuver our apparatus through this site if there was a fire. So the space that they're looking is to remove is right where the fire truck is today, or where it is in the picture. And they also are shifting the curb cut at that area so they can gain access into the site. These are a few proposed elevations that you can see. They have gone through the site plan process and were under the urban district, and they've met all the requirements, meeting the architectural standards for the and landscape requirements. Again, this is the proposed artwork. This will be coming back to the CRB board for a final approval if the board approves this project. This is a radius map showing that 33 public letters were mailed to property owners located within 300 feet of the subject property. The city received 16 letters during the CRB process in favor, and a signed petition was received after the CRB with 59 signatures not in favor. On November 7, 2023, the Community Development Board held a public hearing and discussed a rezoning to urban planned unit development petition and a site plan application for the proposed site. The board voted 3-1, with 2 board members being absent from the vote, and forwarded a recommendation of approval to the City Commission with suggested conditions to be added. Number 1, when the restaurant is open, the valet operates in the evening. And 2, there be no outdoor music. This concludes my presentation. The applicant does have a small presentation as well.
Petitioner, come forward.
Good evening, Commission. My name's Nick Schroth. I'm representative of the applicant here tonight with Mike McCarty and Dr. Schambach and Dr. Schambach's family. My involvement in this property is kind of odd and not in keeping with what our firm usually does, but we've worked with Dr. Schambach on various real estate transactions over the years, and so when his mother was planning to sell this property and retire, he called me and said, hey, I have the opportunity to buy this house. It's been in our family for a while, and I'd like to keep it in our family. So, what can I do with this? And the conversation was a pretty lengthy one. Multiple conversations that talked about building condos and VRBOs and various other things. But it all kind of came back to preserving what's there and keeping a little bit of what's there. And so the restaurant idea was really where we landed, and we brought Mike on board, being a local planner, being involved with the downtown. We thought his skills in helping us craft a plan that fits and works was part of the as part of the team was pivotal. Mike has prepared a presentation tonight. I think there's a couple things that our original application requested that we've since heard from the public on, that we're here to talk about and find some common ground. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to Mike, and we're happy to answer some questions once he gets through his presentation. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Nick.
Good evening, members of the City of Stuart City Council. Pleasure to be here. Mike McCarty, McCarty and Associates, Land Planning and Design. Office located 309 Southeast Osceola Street, Suite 104. Here this evening to talk about 101 Colorado Avenue. We did in fact file the appropriate affidavit attesting to notification with the mail-outs. As staff indicated, 33 mail-outs were sent out, as well as the sign was posted on site. What you have here is a very small existing house that was built in 1958. This is the proposed site plan. The house was roughly 1,200 square feet, and what we are proposing as far as building is 1,500 square feet. The total outdoor seating area calculates roughly just over 3,000 square feet. But the building itself, we are increasing about 300 square feet. So we're in keeping the scale and the size consistent with what was developed in 1958. This was Dr. Schambach's home as a child, and his mother also, I believe, had a practice out of this residence. The intent here is to create a legacy project, not only that benefits the city, but also future generations of his family, and to keep this in perpetuity. So we had some challenges with this site. Obviously, when you're dealing with the urban form, we can't add land to it. So we've got a 50-wide lot here. However, it's ideally located right on the ridge, if you will, overlooking the wide water of the St. Lucie River, which has been a private piece of property, private views, unless you live there. The proposed use will be open to the public, which is a public benefit, serves the community, allow people and both citizens and travelers to come and enjoy this beautiful view that the city has to offer. You'll see here, this is a rendered plan showing how we're making green spaces work within the site. We're also preserving a sizable, let's see if I know how to use this, a sizable mango tree right here, as well as enhancing some of the perimeter landscaping around the west side, and we're having to put some other greenery around the perimeter. You'll see here that we have a sidewalk connection that comes down with some switchbacks. That is existing, so there's a significant grade change from the end of Colorado down to the boardwalk. And this boardwalk was, just recently completed in the last, 6 years, so to speak? Is it 10? Is it 10 now?
8.
8 years, maybe?
8 years.
So, those connection points, we have some connection points to each of the terraces. So these are outdoor dining areas, if you will. And so we have some connection points that will tie into that public element there of the sidewalks. From there, I will move to some of the architectural perspectives. These are a little bit more up to date than what was presented in staff's presentation. You'll see this is looking from the water's edge south. So this is Colorado. This is the switchback of sidewalks. You'll see this is a one-story restaurant with covered outdoor seating. Again, in keeping to its current form. This property is located within the urban waterfront. And from a residential use, its maximum building height could be upwards of 45 feet. So we could go 4 stories here, but we're not. Easy, we're not. We're going 1 story. You can see we have some various elements outside: hardscape, softscape, terracing, some green space, different types of textures and materials, create a sense of place on the waterfront. Some covered area for those summer days, and when the sun's out, you can get in some shade up here. And this is another perspective of that covered area as well. And this is a view from the covered area looking out on the wide water. Something that's very unique, going back to this, when you think historically of Seminole Street has been treated as an alley for a long period of time. And through the CRA and the beautification projects that Pinal's spearheading, and I heard some discussion earlier today on, we're starting to face the water. You've got the Seminole Bluff, and some of the other, the River House and so on and so forth, those redevelopments, they're now starting to face the water. Unfortunately, they're still privatized, but with this, you actually get some public element here. Public. You can buy an iced tea, you get a glass of water, you can come and sit here and enjoy the waterfront. Here's a perspective of the entry off of Seminole, you can see we have a focal feature on the corner of Colorado and Seminole. Again, this will come back as indicated by staff to the CRB for the public artwork. But this is kind of the form in which we are envisioning for this corner. You'll see some of the screening that we have around our dumpster enclosure. You know, it's unique, it's above and beyond the minimum of code. Here's kind of a layout, so this gives you a perspective of the functionality of the interior of the building. Again, this is some seating, some interior seating. This is outdoor but covered, and then it terraces down to the other areas. This being the kitchen element of the restaurant. And then this gives you some elevation perspective. So here you can kind of see as a section what these terraces look like, taking advantage of the grade change from, you know, south to north, north being down here where the seawall is. You can see again, one story, very low, in keeping. We try to remain cognizant of human scale. We didn't want to do 2, 3, 4-story towering building, and in effect, you know, views of surrounding property owners to the south, such as the inn. Again, those are some more perspectives. Now, I'd like to kind of go back a little bit and talk about the parking. So when we initially submitted this application, we submitted for a pre-application in 2002. Started working on the project 2001. So we're over 2 years in on this project. At that point in time, Kev Freeman was the director.
You mean 2020?
What did I say?
2021?
Oh, 2002, I'm sorry, 2022,
say, okay.
excuse me, I apologize, I can't count.
I was wondering who was gonna say something.
So, fast forward, here we are. Our initial submittal indicated utilizing valet, okay? So, we had our CRB meeting, and that was on November, right here, November 7th, all right? At the CRB meeting, we had an overwhelming public input that had some concerns with this project. So we went back to the drawing board. We decided to hold a neighborhood meeting. We invited all of the residents along Seminole and notified them that we'd be holding a meeting. We held the meeting on December 13th, as you see there, where we gave the same presentation, trying to understand everybody's concerns. There was an overwhelming consensus after 45 minutes of discussion and open dialogue that the valet was the issue. And so staff presented that in their presentation, and that was our initial proposal at that point in time. Given the input from the neighbors, we went back and we said, you know what? If you don't want valet, we don't want valet either. We had to demonstrate a form of compliance to parking, and ended up that they were fine with no valet. And so we're fine with no valet. And we believe that you can come, when you come into downtown Stuart, and whether you're gonna go to the Gafford, or you're gonna go to the Riverwalk, and then maybe get some ice cream at Kilwins, you park organically in downtown. You find a space, you park, you walk. And so to think that we have to create all of this additional parking really just isn't true. That's not how we function in downtown. So anyway, we walked away from that meeting, and that's exactly what we did. We came back to the city, we met with staff, we've met with you. We changed our proposal accordingly to meet the neighbors' needs and their concerns. So we are no longer proposing valet, and we are requesting an exemption to the parking. I will say that we do have multiple letters of support. Here's one of them. This is from the Stuart Main Street. We presented to Stuart Main Street, and we received a letter of support from them. I would also like to note that all of these are goals and objectives of the City of Stuart's comprehensive plan. All right? There are 23 goals and objectives that this project satisfies. Urban infill redevelopment, creation of public access to waterfront. I could go on and on. Bottom line is, all this text, there are 23 goals and objectives that this proposal satisfies. With that, I'm here for any questions you may have. I also have our architect here if you have any questions about the architecture. We are across the board in compliance with all the requirements of the urban waterfront. This has been a 2-year process. We're excited for this project to get approval and be able to move forward. We think it'll be a great component for vitality in our downtown and really allow people to come and see what Stuart's about in our waterfront. With that, I also would like to introduce Dr. Shambach. He's here along with his family.